For more on this, let's bring in retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Admiral, thank you for joining us this afternoon. You know, President Trump has said the next step in all of this is a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin when it comes to the war in Ukraine. Though Russia's foreign minister seems to have poured some water on that. Here's what he said.
There is no meeting planned. Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky when the agenda would be ready for a summit. And this agenda is not ready at all. Zelensky said no to everything. He even said no to, as I said, to canceling legislation prohibiting the Russian language. How can we meet with a person who is pretending to be a leader?
Admiral, we've had a series of delaying tactics from the Russian government for quite some time now. Do you see this as an extension of that?
Yeah, Rich, thanks for having me. Boy, Lavrov's a slippery one there, isn't he? Look, peace, the president, this is in President Trump's hands, not Putin's, not Zelensky's. President Trump wants to be the president of peace. He has a great track record of settling some conflicts this year. To do this, he's got to bring maximum pressure right now on Putin. Putin is actually the one who has unacceptable standards. You know, his maximalist positions about land transfers, about the lack of a secure Ukraine after a ceasefire, the no armaments for Ukraine. All these kind of things have to be put away before you can have a legitimate discussion. And the only person that can pressure Putin is President Trump.
It seems like the Russian strategy here is to try to grind the Ukrainian defenses down. They believe with their manpower advantage that they've got the impetus here to play for more time. Meanwhile, try to hold off from any type of sanctions or increase sanctions from the Trump administration. Do you get the sense that that's what they're doing, and are they successful at it?
So absolutely. This is what they've been doing since January. Since President Trump came into office, they've been rope-a-doping him, or as President Trump says, tapping him and delaying. It has gotten them incremental, small, square kilometers here and there, but they are not going to get the breakthrough they need. Ukraine can't hold them off. And so from my perspective, we're going to really get to the peace that President Trump wants. He's got to bring a maximum sanctions campaign, or let's enforce the existing sanctions on the books on Russia and those countries that receive Russian fossil fuels, and then begin offensive arms transfers to the Ukrainian army. And those two things together will put the pressure on Putin that could get him to the table and could get Trump the deal he wants.
There's an argument from some here in the U.S. that this just simply is not our fight, that we are better served by putting our money, our time, our resources in other national security priorities. What do you say to that?
That could have been an argument 3 years ago. But once you begin to support Ukraine, once you're 3 years into an operation, a campaign like this, if we were to abandon Ukraine and abandon this campaign of support, it would be a strong signal to our enemies everywhere that the U.S. is not a credible partner, not a credible ally. It would make a Chinese action against Taiwan more likely, North Korean action against South Korea more likely, and further Russian action against the Baltics more likely. So we would lose our deterrent effect if we back out of Ukraine now.
When it comes to drone warfare especially, Ukraine has done some innovation. Has Ukraine's military become a pretty reliable partner outside of this war for the U.S. military?
In two ways. You're absolutely right. One, they have the most powerful ground force in Europe. Only the U.S. could match them if we sent a lot of troops over. But two, their defense tech, what you're talking about there, has really emerged, whether it's the spider web innovative attack on the airfields, 2 months ago, or their new cruise missile, the Flamingo, that's just come out. I mean, they are really moving forward on defense tech at a pace that U.S. defense industrial base would be impressed by.
Israel, turning now to the Middle East, is moving in on Gaza City. There's a declaration of famine in parts of Gaza. Do you think that Israel should be undertaking this assault on Gaza City? And when do you think is the time for Israel to sort of pull back, or is there a time?
Yeah. So, look, I think Israel should continue their plans and operations in effect till they absolutely have a deal signed. Too often in this conflict, Hamas has said, "Okay, wait, we're ready," and then moved back or changed the goalpost. I say they push forward until they have that deal. But as soon as they have that deal, take it, get as many hostages as you can free. Look, the one thing you can say about Hamas is they care a lot more about holding power over their people than the welfare of their people. So, from Israel's point of view, they should press this home right to the moment that they have a deal signed.
Do you think that Arab neighbors need to get involved at some point in security in Gaza to try to move it to a post-war phase, a peace phase?
Exactly. Not just neighbors, but the whole Arab diaspora. In other words, the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar should be providing the money for the recovery of Hamas and the proper treatment of refugees and internally displaced people. And then Egypt and Jordan need to be better partners. Egypt particularly has failed to take refugees that would have relieved the pressure on Gaza City and prevented tens of thousands of casualties. So yes, the Arab partners and the other Middle Eastern countries that have supported Hamas over the year, or Gaza over the years, need to step up.
Retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.